Welcome to Diverse Perspectives with Cherie Wiley. On Diverse Perspectives, we will discuss diversity in the areas of education, literature, and arts and entertainment. If you're interested in diversity, equity, and inclusion, this is the place for you. This is Diverse Perspectives. Be sure to give a thumbs up, like, comment, and subscribe. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Diverse Perspectives. Today, I would like to talk about how representation matters. It is very important that we do discuss this issue, mostly because most people don't like to talk about it because it makes them feel uncomfortable. We make conscious choices about the stories that we tell and the stories that we decide to leave out. And these are things that need to change, especially when you have incidents like the ones that are going on in our society. We recently talked about the anti-Asian attacks, and even when we talk about the unrest with Black Lives Matter and other situations that go on in minority communities, representation often is the issue. Mostly because lack of representation allows stereotypes to breed, and those things make it very easy for people to dismiss other people's humanity and kind of focus on the caricatures that have been created throughout history. So when we talk about Dr. Seuss books that portray the Chinese boy in a very stereotypical manner, it creates this understanding that these people or this group of people act a certain way and are a certain way, and therefore takes away some of that realness away from that aspect. This also happens when we talk about stereotypical images that have been put out in society. When we show certain groups of people behaving in certain ways, it creates this image that people begin to internalize even within their own communities. You see people believing that Black people act this way, or Hispanic people act this way, or Asian people act this way, and these things are simply not true. We need to see positive representation on all platforms from all cultures. And society is starting to catch on. We're starting to see images of people in positive lights. I remember personally when the movie Hidden Figures came out and how monumental that film was just for representation for an African American woman as myself. To see other African American women shown as intelligent and intellectual and history changing and history making was very impactful on me, even though that film came out when I was an adult. Also, when we think about simply the reaction that happened to having our first real African American superhero when Black Panther first hit the screens in 2018, you come to understand how important this level of representation is. Over the years, we've seen this happen even more with films like A Wrinkle in Time. You begin to understand why these things are important. People need to see themselves. They need to see that these stories exist. They need to see that not everyone that's in this particular group or that particular group fits into some stereotypical peg, and that real people can tell real authentic stories. I think it's really, really important for us also to see that people from those communities are the ones who are telling these stories. When we get into the argument about authentic stories and who has the right to tell whose story, it always comes down to the fact of, do you have the right to talk about a community that you yourself have never been a part of? And I am a strong believer that you don't. I feel like stories that are about certain groups should be told by those groups. And the reason for this is we all carry some form of implicit bias. This is bias that is internalized, that sometimes we're not even aware of. It's not that we want to create these stereotypes, but naturally there are certain stereotypes that we carry because we were taught these things from a very young age. A lot of times the reason why we feel this way about certain groups of people is because the images that we have been fed over years and years of our lives are negative ones. They are images that are someone else's view of that group of people, someone else's view of that community, and those images are then pushed on the public, and we are made to believe that those things are true. The only way for us to really understand the experiences of all different types of people, and when we talk about the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion, that is a conversation about all different types of people. We can only get a full picture of that when those people are allowed to share their stories. Those people are allowed to have a voice and allowed to give their perspective of what's actually going on. People within that community are not going to draw themselves as stereotypical caricatures because they understand the realness of what is going on. Now, it is fair to say that in a comical stance, sometimes those aspects are added in, but they're added in a very tasteful manner. They're also added in a way that helps us to understand that if the community itself points out something that maybe they want the community to work on, or something that is just a part of who they are, a part of their culture, a part of their bloodline, then those things are not a stereotype because they are just simply sharing their experiences. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that is exactly the way that it should be. We need to understand that in order for us to stop a lot of the negative things that are occurring in our society, a lot of the negative feelings, even the disunity that has become so much a part of America over the last few years, we have to try to take the time to get to know the stories and perspectives of others. We have to respect the fact that yes, America is a melting pot, which means that there are all different types of people that add to the American story. And that is one great thing about being an American. Our diversity adds value to the American story. And without our differences, America would not be quite as interesting as it is. I appreciate the fact that there are so many minorities now, especially, that are sharing their creativity in order to inspire the next generation, to inspire the next set of children who will go to movie theaters to see their superhero that looks like them and talks like them and acts like them and brings some aspect of their personality and their community to the big screen. They will continue to read books about people who understand their condition and all the things that they've experienced in this country and just throughout the world. They will continue to look for images, not just fictional images, but real life images, real Katherine Johnsons in their lifetime, real Michelle Obamas, real Barack Obamas. They will continue to look for those images over time with the understanding that those representations matter. Those representations change and form dreams. They make people believe that those things are possible and that they can achieve those goals, and they're fighting towards that every single day. For everyone that is passionate about telling the stories of minorities so that people can learn more about diverse stories and perspectives, continue to do what you do because you never know how you are impacting the next generation. This has been Diverse Perspectives with Cherie Wiley. If you have an idea for an upcoming segment, be sure to leave it in the comments and maybe you'll see it in an upcoming video. If you like what you heard, be sure to give a thumbs up, like, comment, and subscribe.